Every day, millions of parents across Canada send their children to school with the expectation that those kids will come back safely. Well, that didn't happen on Tuesday for several families in Tumbler Ridge. Now they and a community of about 2,500 are forced to navigate a grief so heavy and unbearable. Joining us now is Marcy Gray, lead psychotherapist and CEO of Gray Matter Health. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I just want to let our viewers know that at the bottom of your screen, there are contact information and details for anyone who may need help as we are discussing a really heavy topic. Marcy, I want to ask you first, as a country, we are united in our grief for everyone in Tumbler Ridge. That community now is processing this grief. Talk about the process.
So the processing of this grief is really quite essential. We really need to take time to acknowledge what it is that we're feeling, the sadness, the disbelief. All of those things are so important for all of us to acknowledge and to really be able to be there for one another, hold one another, be with one another in this time, and come together as a community, as a strong community, really feeling it together. And as we bring up vigils and talk about those who we've lost, it's so important that we don't feel alone during this time.
It's most likely the case that so many people know one another and so many people knew the victims as well as the suspect who is from Tumbler Ridge, according to police. Does that add another layer?
It absolutely adds another layer because it's deeply personal. In small towns where everyone knows everyone, that's kind of the beauty of community, of everyone kind of knowing everyone. And so in the beauty of this is that everyone will come together really strong and really support each other and be there for each other, and everyone really being in this together. But it is deeply personal because you knew probably the suspect, you knew those lives and those children that were affected. And so, yes, it's quite deeply personal, and the grief will run quite deep in a situation.
And I think so many parents, so many families across the country are just having such a hard time processing that children were sent to school and some of those children were harmed in a school shooting, a place where kids should be safe. Talk about the impact this has on really the entire country here.
It has this impact on us because we believe in Canada that we're safer than some other nations, or that this doesn't really happen here. And for it to happen in a small town here, it's really shocking. It brings a lot of disbelief. And so while we're all thinking about that, we're collectively trying to deepen our reality that this is something that has happened. And so it's difficult a lot of times for parents to decide on, how do I tell my children, or do I tell them, and how do I talk about this, and how do I ensure that they feel safe? And so one of the things is that we don't want to, be magic wand or go to, miracle and say that they're going to be safe at all times. But we do want to share with them that there's people in their lives that are trying to ensure that you're safe when you go to school, and that there's adults in your life as well that are doing their best to ensure you're safe.
I think there was a line I read from you that talked about how children really look to adults in these moments, and our reactions really do matter.
Exactly. So we want to be calm. We want to be self-regulated so that we can co-regulate with our children. So when we're sharing and we're talking, we're listening to them, we want to be as calm and compassionate as possible, really hear them, clarify things for them, answer their questions. But our calmness and our centeredness really helps them to feel safe and feel calm and regulated.
We've been talking about how individually and maybe as a community we process this sort of grief, but as a society, as a country, do we have the tools in place in order to meet the needs of people who might need supports?
Yeah, I believe that we have some tools in place in terms of our school guidance counselors, our school crisis workers, mental health professionals, our crisis lines, our crisis drop-in and supports. And I think it's so important that we utilize all of the tools that we have. Certainly, we can do better as a community and as a country in terms of mental health crisis and support, but I think that we're doing well in terms of having things like Kids Help Phone and other crisis lines, 988, to be able to call, having a community crisis center to be able to go to, going to our emergency rooms if we are experiencing a mental health crisis ourselves. There are some supports in place, and it's important that we reach out to those supports.
And again, those numbers at the bottom of your screen for anyone watching that, keep that information with you and make sure you share with everyone in your community. Marcy Gray, we thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you so much, Faiza.